Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
Thank you for joining us for Tesla Time News
On Now You Know.
Episode 24. All right, our first story is about a heroic German Model S driver.
So this driver noticed that another driver on the road was driving erratically. He saw that he was slumped over. He was driving a Passat. And so the Tesla driver got in front of the Passat driver, applied the brakes, and stopped the Passat driver's car. It turns out that he had had a stroke. When they finally came to a stop, the Tesla driver called the emergency services, and they were able to save the man's life.
Yeah, this came to us from a viewer, from a commenter, Ma-Chi Mib. We wouldn't have heard about it unless he had told us about it early in the week, although it did become a big story during the week.
Yep.
And then Elon tweeted his appreciation. He said, "Congrats to the Tesla owner who sacrificed damage to his own car to bring a car with an unconscious driver safely to a stop." And he also went on to say, in appreciation, Tesla is providing all repair costs free of charge and expedited.
Wow.
I mean, what a car company.
I've never heard that, of someone doing something good with their car, and then the car company saying, well, we'll help pay for repairs.
Yeah, and it didn't look like there was that much damage. This footage here from a German TV show shows that there's a little bumper damage, but it didn't look too bad, and he's going to get it paid for. So
that's awesome.
Good all the way around.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. This is the world's largest solar facade. This is in Copenhagen. And it's on a school. It has 12,000 colorful solar tiles. And how much energy does this thing make?
So this makes 300 megawatt hours of electricity per year. And that meets over half the campus of Copenhagen's international school's energy needs.
Wow. And it's just beautiful. They came up with a way, I guess it took them 12 years to develop this, a way to make these panels different color shades.
Different colors. So they, instead of using pigments, they use, I think, some kind of nano thing. Basically, if you've ever seen like an oil slick on top of water, how it has that sort of iridescent glow, they're using the same basic technology, I guess, to do that.
Interesting.
So
it's very pretty.
Yeah.
So GM, Toyota, and Lyft are lobbying the U.S. government for autonomous standards. Basically, they see the future, and they realize that we need to have some kind of laws in this country to govern autonomous driving, right?
Right.
So they have gone before Congress and been asking for, hey, you know what? We can't have each state have its own thing. We need kind of a
standard
universal regulations, right? Because right now there's 4 states that have different regulations, like Michigan and California, that allow for autonomous driving. But what would it be like if you had, one state like Connecticut, let's say, that wouldn't let you drive your autonomous car in?
Right.
So we need some regulations, and I'm glad they're working on it. And it's interesting that Tesla and Alphabet, 2 of the leading companies in autonomous driving, weren't even there. So even companies like GM realize this is coming. GM's Vice President of Global Strategy, Michael Abelson, said during the testimony that self-driving cars won't drive while impaired by drugs or alcohol. They won't be distracted by a cell phone. They won't drive drowsy or recklessly. And their speed will be limited to that of the local laws and conditions.
Wow. So, they're really on board with this whole autonomous driving idea.
Yeah. For years, automakers have committed to resources to protecting passengers when crashes do happen. Today, through the continuing development of technology, we have the further opportunity to avoid crashes altogether.
Wow. That's great. Car companies, wow, they're really coming around, huh?
Aren't they? Except for this little letter. Car makers lobby Trump to relax the efficiency regulations. Car companies have written this letter asking that Trump relax all the regulations that the Obama administration had put in place for fleets. So by 2025, I think that fleets were supposed to be at 54.5 miles per gallon. They don't want to really get there.
So, this is interesting because, they're pushing for autonomous cars, and most of the autonomous cars that we've been seeing have all been electrics, whether it's the GM Bolt or, Tesla, obviously, but they don't really count in this because they're not on this letter. But so they're all pushing for more lax standards so you could get worse miles per gallon?
I think it's because they know that in the midterm here, while they ramp up to autonomous, there's going to be many years of still selling ICE cars. And I think during all those years, they'd like to sell them as cheaply as possible and make as much money as possible. And having to get as high fuel efficiency as possible is going to cost them a lot of money. And so the leaders from Fiat, Chrysler, Ford, GM, Honda, Hyundai, Nissan, Toyota, and VW all signed this letter asking for lax regulations. Not cool.
Not cool.
What is cool is this video here of an autonomous electric drone taxi, which should go into service by this summer. This thing is awesome. Now, when I first looked at it, I thought it had to be gas-powered. Is it gas-powered?
It's not gas-powered. It's electric-powered. So, I mean, it has a battery and it has electric motors. So when I first saw this thing, I thought that it wasn't real. But I've seen some actual test footage of it where they do a hover, where they do an attitude recovery. It's very interesting. It's basically just a drone, but much, much bigger.
So it has 8 motors.
Yeah.
It can fly, 62 miles an hour at a height of 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
And then what is it range like?
Well, it can go 62 miles an hour, and it can stay in the air for about 30 minutes.
Okay, so about 30 miles of range?
I would say so, yeah.
And it takes
around there.
2 hours to recharge.
2 hours to recharge.
Now, one big question for me is, in helicopters, you pointed out, if a helicopter's motor stops working...
Yeah. If a helicopter's motor, for whatever reason, stops working, the pilot can basically allow the helicopter to fall out of the sky, spin up the rotor, so you're storing energy in the rotor by changing the pitch of the blades, and it goes... and then you change the pitch back to slow yourself down right before you slam into the ground.
That's
basically
a cool function.
Saving your life with no power whatsoever.
Now, can drones do that?
No.
Oh,
drones. So the problem with this is that if you lose one of your motors, or I don't know how many, you probably maybe could lose 2 or something, you would fall out of the sky. So I think the solution to that would be that whichever
Parachute?
motors weren't running, you'd sort of change your attitude, and then a parachute would deploy. Hopefully. So
basically, you don't want to be the first person to try out this new service.
I wouldn't personally try this out.
But you wouldn't be stuck in traffic. So.
That's true.
South Korea says yes to Tesla. So this is kind of a cool story. We have been reporting that Tesla has a new showroom in South Korea, but this means that now that the South Korean government has given the formal agreement, basically their country's Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, and Transport said yes.
Yep.
Now Tesla will be able to open not only just a showcase showroom store, but actually
start selling,
have a service center, and so forth.
I think Tesla's going to do really well here because they have a pretty big hybrid and electric market already. Tesla, I think, is going to make a huge splash.
I do too, for 2 reasons. One is Seoul, Greater Seoul, has over 26 million people.
Wow.
And in 2015 to 2016, the number of electric cars grew faster than in any other country.
Wow.
So that shows that there's a huge pent-up demand in Korea.
Definitely.
This could be awesome news for Tesla, because Korea is one of those countries we don't talk about as much as like China and so forth, but it's a huge country and it's a technologically advanced country.
Yeah.
There's some words that if you put them together, get very exciting. Roborace.
Whoa. What is Roborace?
So check this out. This is a race that took place in Buenos Aires, Argentina. A company called DevBot has made these autonomous driving race cars. And this is the first time ever that we've heard of that autonomous race cars have driven against each other.
Whoa.
So this is a closed circuit in Buenos Aires. These 2 cars hit maximum speeds of 115 miles an hour.
Wow.
There was a car crash. One of them did crash.
Okay. Was anyone hurt?
No one was hurt because no one was driving.
In the car, right. So, I mean, and car crashes are pretty common in races anyway.
And this is just, we'd like to point out, it's just like any time you test out something for the first time, it's not probably going to be perfect. But this is pretty cool that you can even be talking about it. They use the same computer, the same NVIDIA computer that is in all the new Teslas.
Wow.
And many of the same kinds of sensors like radar, cameras. So
this is really interesting.
This is really cool. Does this mean that in the future you could let your Tesla drive against someone else's Tesla in a race autonomously?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want that, but I mean, definitely very cool.
What's kind of cool is when you are watching a race, you love it when drivers push themselves to the limits, but that's dangerous for the driver. Here, the cars can push themselves to the limit, and if an accident occurs, no one gets hurt.
That's true. I mean, you can probably increase the performance and speed of these cars, and these races can be either they'd be really exciting or they'd just be like...
And there's a picture here of a dog that wandered onto the racetrack. So it was a closed track, but I guess not closed enough. So let's make sure we keep those dogs off there.
Yes.
Exciting news just happened on Sunday from SpaceX at 39A launch pad at the Kennedy Space Center. SpaceX launched its CRS-10. It was a Dragon mission with a Falcon rocket going up to the International Space Station to bring over 5,000 pounds of cargo.
Wow.
And check out this footage. They can't get enough of this footage here.
So this is the first stage coming back down for landing.
Mm-hmm. And you can see it descending there with the landing zone in the background. It's amazing to think of what's happening. That is coming back from space with live footage. It is approaching the landing zone now. You're seeing on the screen, landing legs deployed. As it softly touches down.
Wow, it's coming back from space, and it's so in this case it's landing back at the Kennedy Center.
Yeah, it's not landing on a drone this time because I think the drone is mainly just to show that it could be done, and it's way more complicated to do it that way. And that's if it's going way out over the water. Here, it was only a 10-minute time from when it went up to when it came back down. So it wasn't that far away. Just came back down. And I think, when I was first watching it, because of the cloud cover, I thought this is going to be a boring launch. But the clouds make it so exciting. Watch this as it comes down through the clouds and lands. It's just so exciting.
Absolutely.
And think of the cost savings. Now that the rocket is right back where it started.
Yeah, just fuel that puppy up and
launch it again.
Shoot it off again.
Oh, I do want to mention, this is the first time that a launch has taken place at 39A since the space shuttle launch in 2011.
Wow.
So it's just been sitting there kind of unused, and now it's getting used again.
Wow. And this is the same one that they launched the Apollo missions from.
That's right. And what I also didn't know was that when you launch the Dragon capsule, it takes 3 days for you get up into orbit, but then you have to slowly adjust your orbit to match the ISS orbit, and you slowly approach the ISS. You don't want to be approaching that thing fast.
Right.
So now, about 3 days from now, it'll be docking with ISS.
That'll be very exciting. So, probably when this video is coming out.
That's right. So this next story we're going to do on our in-depth episode. So if you want to watch this about Elon at the World Government Summit, go over there quick and see it.
All right. Moving on. So Tesla is now bigger than Nissan.
Nissan Motors?
Nissan Motors. So Tesla has just increased its market cap to $42.1 billion. Nissan is at $41.6 billion.
No, wait a minute. What's market cap again?
So market cap is the price of your stock multiplied by the number of stocks.
Oh, okay. And so because Tesla stock's been going up so fast lately, it's been growing in market share.
Yeah.
So people believe it's worth more.
Yes.
Wow.
And this is that 42.1 billion number doesn't even account for the $9 billion of shorted assets against Tesla. So,
right, because all those people are shorting it that we talked about last week.
Right. So at some point,
it's going to
$9 billion of Tesla has to get bought.
So who's the name of that billionaire? He's like the 73-year-old billionaire who thinks that Tesla stock is undervalued and could be worth over $1 trillion soon.
His name is Ron Barron. So he thinks that at the end of the decade, I'm not sure if he means within 10 years or if he means 2020, that Tesla could be worth $1 trillion.
Wow. And he's a billionaire, so he must know what he's talking about.
He knows about money,
wow.
I guess.
That would be exciting.
I would agree with him. Tesla is not just a car company. They are a solar company. They are a battery storage technology company. They're going to have their fingers in a lot of pies coming up in the future when we're moving to sustainable energy and stuff like that. It's going to be pretty darn exciting when, it's not just cars, people.
Wow. One thing I do want to point out with this is that Tesla has been reaching a lot of their goals that Elon set. So there's a 2012 CEO list of goals that Elon had to set to get his 5 million stock options. They've met 4 of them already, and a bunch are about to happen, like production of the Model 3 and so forth. Now, I want to point out that when, all along, Elon has said that when Model 3 gets into full production, he might step down as CEO of Tesla. And I don't want everyone to freak out when that day happens, because it's probably going to happen.
Right.
That doesn't mean that he's going to be gone from the company. He still owns 22% of the stock, and he's probably going to stay on the board, maybe stay chairman. It just means that the day-to-day CEO operations, he's probably going to give to someone else. So, many other companies, when the CEO has changed, they've stayed great companies. If you look at companies like Google, Alphabet, they've changed CEOs.
Look at Apple.
Now,
that's a bad example. That's a really bad example.
Sometimes when the CEO changes, you lose the leadership.
Right,
so.
but when Steve Jobs died, he died.
Right.
He wasn't around to be like, hey, maybe you don't.
That's
maybe
a good
keep
point.
The aux cable. Huh?
That's a good. Maybe. Do you think he would have kept the aux cable?
I don't know. He probably would have been like, we're doing away with phones. We're gonna have iPods in your eyes.
Norway has reached 37% EV market share. This is pretty amazing. I want you to wrap your head around that. That means that last month, 37% of all the cars sold in Norway were EVs.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and so they have a goal of reaching 100% of their new car sales to be zero emissions by 2025. And when I first heard that a year or so ago, I was like, good for you, Norway, but you're not going to make it.
Nice try, right.
But they're making it.
They're doing it.
That means that 37% of the people bought EVs last month.
Wow. And I heard that the Model X is selling better than the Model S.
Yeah, it almost doubled the sales. And I think that's because it's Norway and people want to have, an SUV.
That can tow
Yeah.
Wow.
Tow things up to the mountains.
That's great.
So I think it's time for a boring update.
Time for the boring update. Elon has named his boring machine.
What's his boring machine's name?
They call it Nanny.
Nanny.
Buying a boring machine can do.
It's pretty easy.
Pretty cheap.
There's a lot of them on the market.
Yeah.
Like, just go on eBay.
Right.
And
I don't know.
Oh, you don't?
Probably Alibaba.
The shipping would be a little expensive.
Basically, you can get a drilling boring machine for like 90% off. I mean, that's a great deal.
I mean, he got his I guess was $15 million new from a German company that makes it.
Right.
But because China is boring all over the place and there's so many of these machines,
he got it for 90% off.
Yeah, that was smart.
What a great bargain.
Yeah. He bought one and thought, let's just try it out and learn from it.
Right.
He put one of his head SpaceX engineers in charge of the project. And normally this boring machine can dig how fast?
You can dig 300 feet every week.
Okay.
They want to increase it to a mile every week. So that's 17.6 times faster.
Wow. Can you imagine being able to dig a mile in a week?
I mean, that's unheard of because haven't been able to do that yet.
Wow.
I mean, this is what they're hoping to be able to do. And I mean, they're a rocket company that
I love that he just takes on challenges and he just figures, let's go buy the tool, figure out how it works, and we'll figure out how to make it go faster.
Steve, why don't you go work on this? Like, I know that you're a rocket scientist and everything, but hey, give boring a shot.
Right. Maybe Steve was a little too exciting.
I mean, I think, I don't know if you'd be excited if you were like, I can't wait to build spaceships. And he's like, yeah, make stuff that goes under the ground. But, I mean, this is exciting. I mean, imagine he's thinking of cities where there's like 10 levels of tunnels running underneath the city.
Yeah.
So that way the traffic is just like, oh, I'm on level 3. Like, traffic is bad on level 2. Well, good thing I'm not on. I mean, there wouldn't be any bad traffic because there'd be so many roads. Three-dimensional traffic system.
I know. It's exciting.
It's amazing. Huge.
It is huge.
I'm very excited.
It makes things like this next story seem like piddly, but they're still amazing. Autosteer is now available on HW2 cars on local roads. So basically, as we knew, the new hardware wasn't able to do Autosteer yet, right? Because its software had to catch up.
And then they just allowed it the other day, but it was only for highway driving.
Right. And so now they've added local roads, 5 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Yeah.
So basically, it's catching up to what we have as Autopilot 1 in this car.
Right.
And it's only been out for a few months.
Soon it'll just surpass and go far beyond.
Sparky!
Yeah, it's all right. So we always want to keep you up to date on the latest EV stuff. I know that we're very Tesla-oriented, but there are other EVs on the market. And so let's talk about a new one that's coming out, the Hyundai Ioniq.
Yeah,
EV.
this EV is priced at $29,500.
Yep.
And that's before incentives. So in places like California, that means you can get a brand new one for under $20,000.
That's huge.
Tell me about its specs.
So its specs are pretty,
ho-hum.
Ho-hum, yeah. You get a EPA rated 124 miles of range on a 28 kilowatt hour battery. This is supposed to be the most efficient EV, which is, I think, beating out the i3 in terms of actual energy efficiency.
And it's a front-wheel drive car.
Front-wheel drive car.
And an 88 kilowatt energy electric motor.
Yeah, I mean, definitely won't be,
breaking any speed records.
No 0 to 60 records. But
what's exciting to me?
What?
Is in a few years when these are on the used market.
Absolutely. I mean the price will drop significantly once it's not a new car. I mean, as soon as you drive it off the lot, they're going to be a lot cheaper. So I'm very excited about this. In terms of just people who they don't need a car that can drive, 300 miles or something. They just need to go back to work, home to work, to school or whatever.
But I will say 124 EPA miles is still kind of lame to me.
It's super lame. I totally agree that it's super lame. I think that it's doable for some people. They will see the value and do it. I mean, it's like a Leaf. It's like an i3.
Right.
You have that smaller range. But I think 124 miles, that's getting there. I think once you get over 200 miles, that's the key.
There's the key.
Because your range anxiety sort of evaporates. I'm not sure if it has fast charging, so let us know in the comments if you are driving one or have really looked into it.
All right, well, if you can't afford an Ioniq, maybe you can get an electric bus.
Well, maybe you take the bus, huh?
Oh, yeah. That'd probably be a better idea.
That'd probably be a little cheaper.
So I guess electric buses only make up 1% of the buses out there now, but the CEO of Proterra has projected that he thinks in the next 10 years, electric buses are going to hit the tipping point and take over
the market.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be, what an improvement. If we look at public transportation over the history of it, it used to be electric. Mm-hmm. It used to be trolleys.
Yeah. Oh, and it used to be, there's electric buses in Boston. I remember them. There was overhead wires.
Right. And so, I mean, but now we can, with the battery technology is there to where we can actually, put them into the thing themselves, so that way you can just charge, you don't have to have overhead wires.
And people want them. I mean,
they're quieter.
Yep.
They, they obviously they don't pollute. They don't smell awful when you're sitting at the bus stop. So I mean,
Kings County, Seattle, their Metro Transit system just ordered 73 buses from Proterra.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is a company that is making their buses using Tesla's former vice president of manufacturing to lead the production, and they have a facility in Greenville, South Carolina, and they have a factory in Los Angeles. So this is an American company making American buses.
Right.
That's pretty exciting. Sustainable
Very
buses.
exciting. I can't wait to go for rides on electric buses. What a great way to get around.
Yeah. So we always take a comment every week from one of our commenters, and we got a lot this week. We had a huge number of people looking at last week's episode, so thank you so much. And Mark Forster said this. He said, P.S. Not all of your audience is American.
You're right. You're
absolutely right.
Very right.
And I really loved it that a lot of you chimed in with where you're from.
So let's just sort of go down the list of different places where people are from. Cape Town, South Africa.
Australia.
Germany.
Brazil.
The Netherlands.
Spain.
Russia.
Slovakia.
South Korea.
Norway.
Finland.
Mars.
Mars?
One guy said he's from Mars.
Argentina.
Canada.
Belgium.
France.
Bulgaria.
And Colombia.
Whew! That is a lot of different places around the world. I'm so happy that we are reaching all of these different people, because I mean, I don't go to Bulgaria that often.
No, I would love to.
I would absolutely love to.
Yeah.
But like, how great is that we can talk, we can actually communicate with you guys all around the world. It's not just my friends who are like, stop talking about Tesla, man. I'm very excited to be able to reach all you guys. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing and liking our videos. It means so much to us.
It really does. We love your comments. We also love to tell you about new superchargers every week, and this week is no different. What an exciting week for Tesla. When we looked today to see how many new ones there were, we were kind of surprised.
Yeah, we were blown away. There's a lot.
First, we just want to thank one of our viewers, David Colbert, who, or maybe it's Colbert, from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He sent us these pictures of the supercharger next to the Hard Rock Casino. So thank you so much for sending those pictures. That looks really cool. There's a sign there that says that you can get a free complimentary valet
Hard Rock Cafe thing.
So that'd be fun.
That looks like fun.
Yeah, that'd be really fun. So let's just kind of go down the list here. Some of these are under construction. Some of these are actually built. Our first one is in Maribor, Slovenia. This one's under construction.
The next one is in Fukuoka, Japan, which is now open, ready for business.
The next one's in Jebel Ali, which is in the United Arab Emirates. That one's open.
Masdar City in the UAE, which is also open.
Next one is in Cagnes-sur-Mer, which is in France, and that's open.
Sisteron, which is in France, which is also open.
I love that accent. Calgary, which is in Alberta, Canada. That's under construction.
Arlington, Texas is under construction.
And Traverse City, Michigan, which is under construction. So, wow, this week alone, all those superchargers either open or under construction. If you stop at any of those, if you're planning on a trip to any of those, take some pictures. It doesn't have to be just the supercharger itself, but maybe some amenities around it.
Yeah, some of the stuff around it, because honestly, when you arrive at the supercharger, you know what the supercharger looks like. You're going to plug in, you're going to either want some food, somewhere to go to the bathroom, somewhere to stay for the night. All three of those things if there are around, that's great. We would love to know about them so we can share them to other people.
A big thank you goes out to our Supercharger reviewers this week. First one is YouTube Glenn AR, who did a review of the Tannersville, Pennsylvania Supercharger. Next is Jennifer, who did a review of the Bayfront at Naples, Florida Supercharger.
This is Jennifer from Now You Know. I am in Naples, and this is a brand new Tesla charging station. There are 8 bays. I will have to say, though, that it's brand new. You can't even park here yet. And it does say, if you notice on the sign, that it's a 30-minute general parking. So I'm not exactly sure what that's all about, because this would be a perfect destination spot. There are tons of restaurants and a pretty place to walk around right by the boats. You could take a boat out. So I'm not exactly sure why it's only 30 minutes. That would be the only downside. So, I mean, I give it a 9 in terms of its where it is, but if it's only a 30-minute parking spot, I think I give it about a 3.
And thank you to Jeff Meinke, who did a review of the San Mateo, California Supercharger. Thanks so much, everyone.
Hey Zach, hey Jesse, this is Jeff from Half Moon Bay, California. This is the new San Mateo valet complimentary parking, and I just wanted to show you. San Mateo is one of the busiest areas for Tesla parking. And this is Jay right here, the valet guy. You can see we've got an Uber X and another X back there waiting to go.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We love your comments. We love it when you subscribe. We hit 10,000 subscribers, and we want to give some gifts. We have this lovely t-shirt here, which is a glow-in-the-dark Tesla t-shirt of Nikola Tesla. We also have some headless headphones. These are wireless headphones.
Yeah, they go on your head.
They go on your head.
Yeah.
Wireless Bluetooth headphones. We're going to be giving those away. All you need to do to enter is to go to your favorite podcast place like iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever.
Yes.
Rate and review us.
Yep.
So we'll take everyone who has rated and reviewed us on your favorite podcast place, and we will put them in a bin, and we'll spin that around and pull out a name and give away that cool giveaway stuff, the t-shirt and the headphones, to our winner. Thank you so much for doing that, because that's going to help us move up on those podcast lists.
Yep.
Because don't forget, you can listen to every one of our Tesla Time news episodes, all of our Off the Grid episodes on podcasts.
Yes.
Which is a fun way to listen.
Check those right out.
And you can get that right in your car, too.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
Now you know.
Now you know.